was just something inside of me that really wanted to join the fight.
I love my job, I love what I do, and I'm good at it.
I will always put the mission first.
It makes me proud, it makes my family proud. It's something that my son can look up to me.
I'm an Airman First Class in the United States Air Force.
I'm active duty in the United States Coast Guard, and I am transgender.
But it doesn't matter that I'm transgender because I'm a person.
I need that, kiddo. Thank you. Love you.
Love you too.
Love you, Soph. Have a good next couple days. I'll see you in a couple days, baby.
I don't know.
No.
Yeah.
Not go.
I'll be back in a couple days.
Go back home by the house.
I joined the Coast Guard in 2005 as a reservist. So I've been in for over 12 years. I've been active duty, official active duty since 2014, but I had done 2 deployments prior to that as a reservist, so I've had a lot of experience. Coast Guard has invested a lot of time and effort in me and, accepted me. It basically just taught me to be a better person than before I joined, and it's my life. When I go to work, I present male as Kieran Walker or Petty Officer Walker. So I wear the male uniform and I follow male physical training standards. I'll do so until I officially change my gender marker in August of next year. I'm still early on in my transition, even though I've been on hormones for 5 months. It's uncomfortable because I feel more comfortable this way and looking this way and feeling this way. My colleagues now do know that I'm transgender. I am out at work. Coast Guard Station Loop, Coast Guard Station Loop, Coast Guard Station Loop. This is Coast Guard 29302, 29302, CG113 over. We decided we would do it during an all-hands meeting. That was very, very nerve-wracking for me. We did our normal quarters, and then I was like, okay, BM2 Walker has something to say. And I just went up there, and it was like, okay, well, here we go. And I said, well, I'm transgender. It was awkward silence at first. And then, the first person started the clap, and then everybody else clapped. And that was great, and I was crying a little bit, especially when Brandy hugged me.
I still cry thinking about it because I'm just so proud of her. I'm sorry. When Kira came out, I made it a point. I told her I wanted to be there. She should have the backing of her family no matter what. I want everyone to see that she has a normal life, that she has a wife that loves her, her children that love her. So I wanted to be there. I would not have been able to do that. Come out and tell them, hey, about all those, the policies we were talking about, transgender people. Well, I'm one of those transgender people. Kira had come out mid-July, and it was literally 2 weeks after Trump had tweeted that transgender personnel are being banned from the military.
Tonight, President Trump's sudden and controversial ban. The president banning all transgender people from serving in the military.
Please be advised, he declared, the United States government will not accept or allow transgender individuals to serve in any capacity in the U.S. military. Our military cannot be burdened with the tremendous medical costs and disruptions that transgender in the military would entail.
Transgender service members who volunteered to serve this country have no idea whether they will be thrown out of the military, and neither do their commanders.
What happens to transgender service members now? Are they immediately thrown out of the military?
That's something that the Department of Defense and the White House will have to work together as implementation takes place and is done so lawfully.
I felt like that was a trap, like in a sense, like she had just come out, she finally felt free, and then boom, she gets trapped again.
You know, I feared for what was going to happen. It seemed like I might have been losing my job. Would I be able to still support my family? I don't know.
Personally, after I read the tweets, I was initially very upset. It's hard to read, you know, when you find out you're probably going to lose your job in any situation. So to read it through a tweet was even more hard.
I didn't want to believe that a tweet had that much weight on our life. I am an optimist through and through, and I told my husband, don't worry, it's just a tweet. But I think we both knew deep down it was going to become more than that. And so now we are faced with policy changing, being stuck in limbo, and the unknown.
I've been in the Air Force for a little over 2 years. I knew I was transgender before I joined, but I also knew I wanted to join. I just never felt comfortable in my own body. I never felt comfortable in dresses. I never felt comfortable in the female role that I was told that I had to be in. I officially came out when I was deployed in Qatar. It was hot. We were working for the mission. You were building up munitions and bombs and flare, and it was actually going towards something. It wasn't just a training mission. They were going after ISIS, and they were dropping like bombs on convoys of theirs. This one was one that was designed for the Qatar rotations. The tradition of the coins, they're very special, especially when you receive them. Like this one here I got from our chief in our squadron. He was just acknowledging my good work and stuff like that. So when you receive coins like this and you don't get them easily, it's really speaking volumes. It means something when you get one. They just don't hand them out. This rose represents my grandfather. I keep it up here next to this because I attribute, you know, everything I do or a lot of my reasonings for doing things and sorry. Like it's still like he meant the world to me. My grandfather meant the world to me. My grandfather always talked about his Army days and talked about the missions he went on and talked about his career all the time and would always tell stories. And so this rose really signifies, you know, I wouldn't have any of this if he hadn't inspired me. I put on this uniform every day, not for praise or adoration, not for some free health care. I do it because it was ingrained in me as a child by my grandfather. I created this Facebook post that ended up going a little bit viral when I found out that the ban on transgender military members might be reinstated. And I made this post from a personal standpoint. I wanted people to understand that being transgender, you know, had nothing to do with me wanting to join the military.
Why did you decide to announce the transgender ban reversal a couple of weeks ago? And are you betraying a community that you pledged to support?
No. Look, I have great respect for the community. I think I have great support, or I've had great support from that community. I got a lot of votes. But the transgender, the military is working on it now. They're doing the work. It's been a very difficult situation. And I think I'm doing a lot of people a favor by coming out and just saying it.
There is word also coming in that the White House has now sent the Pentagon guidance on how to carry out the ban on transgender service members.
And it instructs the military to first put a ban on recruitment of transgender individuals and to complete a 6-month review to determine what will happen to those transgender individuals now in the military. And finally, it puts a ban on all gender-related surgeries.
With everything being up in the air, my transition has been slowed down a little bit. Not for hormones. I'm still allowed to take hormones, but surgery-wise. I am a year and 8 months on hormones. Actually, a year and 9 months. I get all my hormones through the military. Within the Air Force, I'm completely open with everyone, with my command, with supervision, with my peers, and I have received the most amazing amount of support. You know, they see me for who I am. They see me for the airman that I strive to be. So for the last few months, it's been really stressful. I don't know if they're gonna, you know, institute the ban and then I'm gonna be gone within a few months, or if I'll serve out my last 2 years and then not be able to re-enlist, or if I won't have to get out at all. Like, I had plans to try to stay under the radar and, you know, just kind of transition somewhat silently as I possibly could, so I didn't have to, you know, explain to people or tell people, you know, constantly that I'm transgender or anything like that. But I've realized that, you know what, I wasn't fortunate to be born in a time where everything was already accepted.
As your president, I will do everything in my power to protect our LGBTQ citizens from the violence and oppression of a hateful foreign ideology. Believe me.
I never believed anything Trump had to say. I don't think anybody does. I'm a veteran. I was served proudly in the United States Marine Corps. I served 4 years and, you know, again, loved being a sniper, but knew that there was no way that I was going to be able to stay, you know, because I knew that I would be discovered for who I am. You can only hide yourself for so long.
The leadership of the armed services, the Joint Chiefs of Staff, the service secretaries, myself, together with personnel, training, readiness, and medical specialists from across the Department of Defense, studied all the data available to us. Now, as a result of this year-long study, I'm announcing today that we're ending the ban on transgender Americans in the United States military.
The government told our service members, come out and be who you are, you know, and proudly serve. You know, and they did so, and now the government's saying, you know, gotcha, we're gonna now purge you and drum you out of the military. You know, that is a classic form of due process violation. We're gonna challenge it. We challenged it, and along with other organizations that similarly have filed lawsuits across the country.
The controversial ban keeping transgender people from serving openly in the U.S. military was partially blocked by a federal court judge, though part of the White House memo that stops government funds from being used for sexual reassignment surgeries stands.
I feel quite confident that the Supreme Court and the lower courts, too, will stop this prohibition from going back into place. Opening up the military to open transgender service is part and parcel of the long civil rights history of the United States military, from the integration of African Americans to now allowing women into any combat role, to opening up to gay and lesbian service members, and now to transgender service members too. We don't really know how many people are transgender in the U.S. military today. The studies that have been done on this have given a range between 1,320 and 6,630 transgender service members today in the U.S. military. You know, a relatively small number, given that there are almost 2 million people in the U.S. Armed Forces today.
I was honored to serve for 36 years in the United States Army at a variety of echelons, anywhere from company all the way up to the Pentagon level. A little bit of time in Iraq. I spent some time in the training environment for the Army, in basic training, where we take great citizen volunteers and turn them into soldiers. I am not a doctor, I'm just a former soldier, but what worries me about the decision to allow transgender individuals to enlist is the fact that there is some data that I've looked and found that says that transgender individuals suffer from severe psychological anxiety at a rate 8 times the normal U.S. Typical population. Those statistics worry me greatly because service in the United States military is inherently a very stressful job.
I don't find the argument that people who are transgender have more mental health conditions to be a compelling reason to restrict service either. Today in the United States military, if you suffer from depression or anxiety or a wide range of medical conditions, you're not allowed to join. And in certain situations, you can be separated from the military if the conditions make it impossible for you to continue service. Those same rules are going to apply to people who are transgender. But so many people I met who are transgender in the military suffer from none of those consequences. And so really the question is, should we kick these people out simply because of their status as being transgender? And the answer to that to me is no.
Some people would say that this is unfair, that we wouldn't allow transgender individuals to serve in the military. I will tell you, in recruiting stations all across the United States, there are unfairness and standards being applied. If you have a history of asthma and it's not under control, you're not eligible to join the military. If you have a foot injury or a knee problem that you got playing football in high school, you're not eligible to join the military. And so while we applaud everybody's desire and want that they want to serve in the military, unfortunately not all can.
There should be standards that the military has. There should be, physical standards, absolutely. There are tough things to do, in the military. I absolutely agree with that. But, but transgender people can do those things. This is a question of who they are. This isn't whether you have asthma or whether you can do pull-ups or whether you can do push-ups. This is a question of who you are and your core. It's definitely a moral issue that you shouldn't be able to discriminate against somebody because of who they are, but it's also a constitutional issue.
I believe transgender individuals currently serving should be allowed to continue to serve on a case-by-case basis. And so a deliberate decision should be made. How are they performing now? What has been their history thus far? What does their commander say about their performance?
I don't think it's a feasible thing to do for a policy to look at people on a case-by-case basis. The military has a couple of million people in it. Several 100,000 join up each year. You need to have clear personnel policies in place. We don't say, hey, you can run a mile at a different time than I can, and we'll look and see whether you're fit enough to do it. We say, no, here's a standard. Everyone must meet it.
All these photos are pre-transition. There's a picture of me. I was like 15, I think. Back when I thought choker necklaces were cool. So the decision to step out or even step forward to transition is probably one of the scariest things I've ever done in my life, because I knew I was going to lose people. I knew that I was going to be judged. I don't get a lot of support from immediate family. I'm probably the disappointment in the family, even though I haven't done anything wrong. It hurts. And it's definitely taken me some time to get over it and just get to the point where I'm like, you know what? I still love you, I respect you, but this is who I am. I remember I was either texting you or I had called you, and I was sitting out on a bench. It was the moment where I finally let go of the former me. It was the moment I finally let go of her. It's like letting go of your best friend. It's like taking yourself to your own funeral. You're laying all of that out and just saying, I'm taking a new step so I can finally feel right in my mind and in my body. I can say with 100%, I don't regret this at all.
Did you steal my brush?
Which brush?
My eyeshadow brush.
Well, since you stole 2 of my sets.
You did steal my good brush. I knew you did.
No, but I mean, remember this? Remember when this was mine?
No, that was
you
never
specifically
yours.
bought for me?
That was never yours.
I do my makeup, but on special occasions she's done it, or when she feels like she's got her own makeup to do. So.
When I first met Kira, I met her as Kirin. She did not present as a female. I did not know yet that she was transgender, so I met her as a male. When she came out, Kira came out and told me that this is a full-time thing. I want to become a woman. I don't think any spouse or partner is ever prepared for that. For 2 weeks straight, I cried. When she went to work, I slept with Kieran's shirts. Just the smell of him. I went through every stage of losing someone, of grieving, of denial. I went through denial, I went through anger, sadness, anger again. You know, after a lot of thinking and patience on both parts, I couldn't see myself without her.
We knew that we couldn't be without each other. And, you know, and I couldn't be without the kids, and I couldn't be without her. But to make that sacrifice on my behalf, you know, I can never repay her for it. You know, I'm that much more in love with her for willing to do it and do the journey with me.
I feel sorry to yank your entire head. How does that feel?
Good.
You look good.
Good.
Love it.
I'm 110% better for my family on hormone replacement therapy than before. I'm a different person. I'm a happier person. There's no question about it. It's like trying to tread water with weights attached to your feet when you're not the best mentally that you could possibly be. Hormone replacement therapy is covered by TRICARE. TRICARE is the health insurance for members of the military.
We spend $50 billion a year, $50 billion a year on military health care. The cost of being transgender, maybe a few $1 million. I mean, a tiny fraction of 1%. The cost could range from $2 or $3 million a year to perhaps a little less than $10 million a year. We spend a lot more on erectile dysfunction drugs than we're going to ever do on transgender medical care. And so the costs are just insignificant.
It's not an extraordinary amount of money compared to the medical budget of the Department of Defense. Having said that, I think most people's concern is along with the lines of the principles of paying for sex reassignment surgery and the pharmacological treatments that go along with those. I think some people believe that might be elective in nature and probably should be paid by individuals, not the United States government.
So this memorandum basically breaks down it's my treatment plan. I think I can read it. The diagnosis of gender dysphoria was made and/or validated by a military mental health provider based on the most recent assessments by Petty Officer 2nd Class Walker's mental health provider. Gender transitioning from a male to female gender is deemed to be medically necessary.
A doctor has to say this procedure, this treatment is necessary for the mental health or physical health of the service member. That's the standard we have put in place.
We ought not to have someone come and allow someone to join the military that's going to require these type of surgeries. That although I applaud their desire to serve in the military, we would never allow someone else that required a future surgery to join the military. It would just not be something we would do.
The idea that people shouldn't be able to enlist because they might need health care at some future place down the road is, you know, a bad argument. There's a whole range of health care needs that our military rightfully deserves and should get, you know, and transgender people shouldn't be carved out of being able to access care that they need just because they're transgender.
Having gender dysphoria doesn't disqualify you from being deployable. It's just kind of like the beginning stages of your hormone treatment, but that is definitely not one of the only scenarios in the military that would make you undeployable. If you require any kind of surgeries, oral surgery, things like that, it would just mean you can't be deployable until that is fixed. I absolutely intend, if they need me to be deployed, I'm more than willing to. In fact, most of us volunteer for that kind of thing because that's why we joined the Coast Guard.
Every day we feel the weight of that tweet. Every day Kira is constantly checking on something, and it affects our family time. When she's home, she's like, oh, let me check and make sure that I still have my job tomorrow. I need to know I have my job tomorrow. And yeah, I need to know you your job as well tomorrow. The weight of the whole tweet is, it has caused arguments, it has caused frustration, it has caused moments to where we both have been crying hysterical. We don't know anything, and it's very, very upsetting and very frustrating.
What it is now for me is a limbo or a uncertainty. I mean, the emotions have sort of like finally settled, but I couldn't tell you exactly what it means and what's going to happen. What's up, kiddo ditto? Is that a dinosaur?
I need to. No.
There you go.
Most of my friends at Barksdale Air Force Base are all airmen. They treat me no different, which has really helped me. They're there to lend an ear. They're there to, whatever support they can do. There hasn't been a disrupt with the unit cohesion. There hasn't been an upset. There hasn't caused a division within my unit with me existing and doing my job. I think diversity in the military and in life is important. It's what makes our country truly great.
Everyone loves him and knows him for who he is, and they accept that. It makes me sad that the people who are in charge of our future have the right to judge him, and they don't know him. And they have the right to make these changes to our lives without knowing what they're actually doing and not caring.
I wanted the Air Force to be my career. I wanted to stay in for a full 20, maybe 30. I wanted to raise my kids in this kind of environment. Having to leave that will be the hardest.
My husband will tell you through and through that he will put his life down, he will put everything he needs to on hold to serve his country. And so as his wife, I've adopted that philosophy too. It's service before self. I mean, I'll follow him anywhere we go, no matter what, in or out of the military. It's just what you do for someone you love.
I think that if I can accept Kira the way she is, I feel that everybody can. This isn't just Kira's journey. This is our journey. This is the Walker family journey. It affects us all, big time.
Step forward. If I'm able to continue my career in the Coast Guard, attention, I would stay in until I retire.
Kira lives a normal life. We want to show people that she is a great person, as most transgender men are. They are great people, and they're no different than you and I and President Trump.